Hi there, everyone. Um, so we've got the debate tonight with me and Iron Horse, and I'm glad you're here with me. We are just on the other side; they're just playing the intro music, so we are going to get to it. So, other than that, let's roll the titles.
And the owner works with us. Going to be awesome. So you guys check it out if you're there. All right, without further ado, I am going to get this started and we will start the openings. And I believe Danny decided to go first since he's conceding a slight bit of his time over just 1 or 2 minutes. So let's get started. Go ahead, Danny.
Right then. Thank you very much. I'm just going to do something just very quick. Oh, wrong one. It's my bad. I knew how to do this earlier. Oh, there it is. Right. Okay. So it's just going to be a brief. Um, where am I? Where am I? Okay. So it's going to be very brief. Just wanna what I want to do tonight is I want to go through some observations with Ross, and you know what, I just want this to be a friendly debate, and I want to get his I guess his opinions or how everything can work with the observations that I do want to show and everything. So, um, first of all, I want to start with the star trails. So, with the star trails, we all know that in the southern hemisphere they go clockwise, and in the northern hemisphere where I am, they go anti-clockwise. So, for Ross, they would be going clockwise, and for me, they're going anti-clockwise. This is observant. This is what happens in reality, and this is a an answer that I would like to have from the flat Earth side. The next one, I believe, will be yes, it will be the seasons. So I just want to know how their seasons would work, and because I get this idea that maybe the sun's going around and I don't know, and it's moving path, and that's it's why I hear anyway. And this here explains
Sorry.
perfectly what is what the sea. Sorry, this explains perfectly how the seasons work. So out the year, every 3 months it is around to the other side, and with the tilt, as you're going round, you get the summer, you get the winter eventually because I've got a special little button there. So here, where I am currently up here, and it means that when the sun is hitting, then we don't get much energy from the sun. So that's why we have the winter, and that's why the sun is really low in the winter. But then if we come round all the way to the summer, we are more exposed here towards the sun, which means where I am, the sun would be more higher in the sky. And then here and here and so forth and so forth. Excuse me. Boats over the horizon. This has been observed by everyone. Flat earthers, globe earthers, any earther that's out there. I don't, whatever. Boats over the horizon is a thing, and all this optical stuff and magic that the flat earthers like to throw their way. I'm going to need some explanation from Ross, maybe to why this phenomenon is happening, this observation is happening. Um, like here as well, we have um, more boats over the horizon, and like I said, I would like the explanation from Ross. Excuse me, I'm getting rubbish at this. Right. We all know about the black swan. Let me just get rid of that. We all know about the black swan. The best argument for the flat Earth um, is refraction, and we all know that. Sometimes during the day we can get high refraction. It all depends on the level of refraction that you get on a clear day or whatever. Blah 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 blah. But clearly in this photo here, it's over the horizon. But then on a photo like this, it's not. So on the left-hand side is refracted. On the right-hand side, behind the curve, not refracted. It's on a clear day. Another one that I would like Ross to explain is solar eclipses. I mean, if he wants to go to the lunar eclipse as well, that's fine. Absolutely, I would love to hear that. Solar eclipses is a thing. It's been witnessed by the whole world. And, well, if it hasn't hit your lifetime, then maybe one day. But we all know that solar eclipses are a thing. So I would like his explanation on that as well. This is my favourite, actually. So, depending where you are on the Earth, so for me, I'm up in the UK, I see the moon a different way to how Ross would see it. So, I would like to know how he is seeing the moon differently from me if we are on a stationary sort of planar Earth or wherever they would like to address it. We all know that when it comes to it, it's a globe, and then it comes out into their the world that they like to say it is. Is this really flat Earth? I wonder. We're going to find out today. But the reality is that it's a globe. And speaking about the moon as well, this is the moon that I see in the northern hemisphere, and this is the moon that Ross would see in the southern hemisphere. And this is the map that Ross has behind him, and I would like to know more about this map and where places are and sizes of continents and countries. I'm going to leave it there, so I'm going to yield my time, and before the debate, me and Ross had a discussion. I'm going to give the rest of my time for him. So thank you very much.
All right. Let me just make you small again. Oh, no. Back to gallery. Cool. All right. Iron Horse, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'll start your time when you start talking.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Daniel. Greetings, Mike, and all fellow flat earthers, whether you know it or not. It's always a pleasure to return as a guest on Modern Day Debate to discuss what I believe is not just the most profound leap in advancement of civilization since the coming of Christ, but also the biggest psychological shift in human consciousness that has the potential to raise individual consciousness to infinite proportions. When the globe was presented to humanity as a spinning spaceball by Jesuit occultists in 1543, it paved the way to the eventual godless Big Bang model of creation, where all apparent order arranged itself out of chaos. Life evolved from random sheer chance and beneficial hereditary mutations thanks to adaptation on a conveniently placed spinning rock of such gargantuan proportions. Everything, including a life support gaseous atmosphere, clung to its surface as it sped more than 10 times faster than an electromagnetic railgun projectile around a flaming thermonuclear fireball, allegedly moving at theoretical speed that is simply unfathomable to the human mind, conveniently dismissed as irrelevant simply by calling it relative. So I could sit here and argue the same old arguments that we all agree to disagree on, such as the satellite in free fall remains geostationary to an Earth traveling multiple speeds in multiple directions, or clouds just waft in the air, and planes never adjust for curvature, axial rotation, or orbit. But today, I'm going to tell a different story, a personal story, a true story about my journey to becoming the international spokesman from Australia, not just defending the greatest mental paradigm shift in human history, but playing my part in the awakening itself. I was born at a very young age in a small Midwestern Australian town on the 33rd degree south parallel on the winter solstice at the very moment the sun drifted from the house of Gemini into Cancer, marking the true beginning of the age of Aquarius. As a young and inquisitive toddler, I'd often be allowed to sit in my older brother's classroom on days my mother volunteered in the small school's canteen. And one time before my 4th birthday, I walked alone, crossing 5 city blocks to attend school before the teacher finally realised it wasn't even a canteen day. I was allowed to start school a year early, and despite every other teacher in the school advising I should repeat a year because of my age, no teacher I had would even allow it. I was not only amongst the top 1 or 2% of every subject, but being a perpetual disruption in most classes, the teacher would always regret trying to catch me out by asking what they'd just said. I'd always get it right. From a very young age, I'd had an affinity with nature. With stray cats, I'd find having kittens in the wood heap that I'd tame and make them purr, catching bees in my bare hands. One time when I was barely 5 and learning to ride a cheeky horse, I remember being mesmerised when I looked into its eye and thought I saw the whole universe within the most beautiful, deep, dark thing of pure consciousness I found myself lost in. Later, that same evening, I became mesmerised by an amazing cluster of stars I later discovered to be Orion's belt. My uncle told me it was the Little Dipper at the time, and ever since I've always made a point to check it out every night I can, being even more familiar to me than the most famous Southern Cross, which I never even learnt to spot until I was about 10. Around the age of 13, my family moved from the country to the coast, expanding my horizons beyond anything I'd known before. I learnt to surf and eventually became a surf lifesaver. And I was quite amused one time after asking an experienced lifeguard just where the curvature of the earth begins. The beautiful region was dotted with outer islands, huge headlands, tidal rivers flowing into a huge port, and further up the coast, our tidal river eventually joined 2 great lakes. The first, a semi-tidal brackish lake coming from a large non-tidal freshwater lake. An hour after asking about Earth's curvature, I saw old matey still staring out to sea, totally blown away by my innocent curiosity, which others first laughed at. But this one guy was clearly disturbed, as we could clearly see one of the islands some 11 kilometres up the coast, and often see further headlands double or more the distance away. We all just assumed Earth is just too big to see the curve and thought no more about it. As the years went by, I learnt more about the ocean, the tides, the moon cycles, and was breezing through school to the point that instead of repeating a year, I qualified as an exchange student just after turning 16 to head to the US for a year, leaving behind my good mates and studies, doing subjects such as 3-unit maths, advanced English, physics, and a new experimental course called engineering science, an introductory course to assist potential engineers before being thrown in the deep end at university, where lecturers weren't known for giving individual attention. One remarkable teacher, our remarkable teacher, looked and dressed like a scholar straight out of the 50s and had the entire class laughing at our very first engineering lesson, that all engineering projects, from ballistics to bridge building, treat the Earth as flat and stationary. Yet as everyone laughed, as though it was the funniest thing since Mr. Bean on sourdough toast, the young professor stood stoically and carried on the lesson as though it were completely normal. Although I had no high expectations of what American school would be like, I found it alarmingly depressing. By years 11 and 12 in Australia, high school students are studying college-level courses, and being placed in junior year in California, I found myself stuck 2 years behind, or worse, seeing people my age struggling with basic things I'd aced back in year 9. The only one slightly challenging and interesting class I'd found was technical drawing. Coming from a metric country, it was interesting learning 8ths and 16ths from scratch, and applying maths and logic to draw engineering templates, mostly gaskets, showing all working marks, impressing the teacher not just with my speed, but the fact I'd get 10 out of 10 on every assignment, while the next best in class often struggled to get an 8, most barely getting a 1 or 2 for spelling their name right. Later in the year, we reached the chapter on metric, where the student became the teacher, as even the teacher there had no idea. After returning to Australia with my 17th birthday gift of a top-of-the-range Pentax SLR camera, I'd become more interested in nature and landscape photography than education, won myself a few first and second prizes in photography competitions, and spent less and less time attending class. Instead, I began the path of the autodidact, the self-educated. I found a passion for all alternative and esoteric knowledge. I read books on Zen Buddhism, mysticism, magic, astrology, UFOs and aliens, alternative health and herbal medicine, fasting, religion, meditation and yoga. No topic was taboo, and I generally research as much as to know what the enemy might be thinking, as much as what might be useful to me. But most of all, I had a love of nature, surfing, the beaches and headlands, and I daily attuned with the weather. I'd moved to Byron Bay after a year in Sydney following high school, with every intention of enrolling in university to study naturopathy, after a lifetime seeing the results of the family pharmacy industry I often did part-time work in. It made me more rebellious against mainstream medicine. I missed the cut-off date for enrolment by a couple of weeks, but at that age I wasn't too concerned. Scored a job cleaning filthy pubs at 4 a.m, which left my days free to wander and roam, surf and swim and ride my bike on the beach, determining my day's activities by intimate knowledge of the tides, the weather and the seasons. It was the late 90s when I first suspected something wasn't right with the weather. I didn't think it was possible that something so big could be affected by man or military, but by the time my third child was 6 months advanced in the womb, I knew without a doubt something big was going on. By this stage, my wife and I had moved slightly inland to Bangalore, had 2 children and bought a closing down pet store business on the day our eldest daughter turned 2. While I still cleaned pubs at 4 a.m. before rushing home to prepare for a day of business, I still always kept my eyes on the skies, and at first I dismissed the rumours of chemtrails as a crazy conspiracy theory. Every day I'd count my blessings, living in such a beautiful natural paradise, the coastal hinterland, rolling green hills, the ocean and Australia's iconic easternmost point I drove in and out of twice a day. Until one morning, driving into the bay down the scenic view of St. Helena, I saw 3 ugly white lines in the sky and an unidentified white plane going back and forth, spraying them. By the end of the day, the sky was filled with an ugly grey haze, completely unnatural. Obviously, this debate is not about chemtrails, but I'm here to say they exist. They're messing with the weather and our health. I was an extremely health conscious person back then, and when I started seeing the patterns of extra heavy spray activity during the week leading up to and weekend of huge international outdoor music festivals, I even coined the term festival weather. And as mentioned, my wife was 6 months pregnant with our third child when she came down with atypical pneumonia, was hospitalised, and the Lismore-based hospital was overflowing with similar cases. Surrounding local businesses also complained of more than half their staff off sick, as I struggled to run my own business and take care of my 2 toddlers. My wife back then thought I was crazy. I refused to have our children vaccinated and treated any minor ailments with colloidal silver, which I quickly learned how to make myself. So when I saw the heavy spraying leading up to a certain festival called Splendour in the Grass, I encouraged the wife to treat herself with it, but her scepticism and reluctance instead earned her a 2-week holiday in hospital while I remained healthy as a horse. I had letters published in the paper. I was contacted by highly knowledgeable individuals. We even started a chemtrail awareness group. One person got a response to a letter from our local member of parliament who literally admitted that his hands were tied. This was beyond even his pay grade. I racked my brains to come up with a solution. I was still heavily a globe believer back then. I believed in global warming and even the possibility of a major disaster known as polar shift, where North and South poles suddenly flip, destroying everything man-made except for pyramids, the strongest known structure. However, my widespread interest in all things alternative also pointed out that the second strongest structure was the dome, which, unlike the pyramid, secured the greatest internal living space, while the pyramid had the least. So because I knew that shooting planes out of the sky was out of the question, despite discovering that the means to do so was entirely available, I realised that sometimes a good defence is better than a powerful offence, and I really had no desire to offend anyone. And so an idea started. What if I could build a shield over my home? Every week I'd recycle empty juice bottles. What if I could blast them with hot air in a mould or shape them into Lego-like bricks to build a lightweight dome structure over my house and garden to prevent the chem crap falling onto my food and water supply? I soon realised the severe limitations of such an idea, but it was a seed planted that began to grow. The plastic under the sun would soon be off-gassing all manner of toxic chemicals and soon break down. As a brewer of my own beer and health tonics, I was a huge fan of glass over plastic and soon began imagining recycling glass into wedge-shaped thick blocks that interlocked like giant jigsaw puzzle pieces, computer designed in such a way to create a massive dome over the entire town. Even The Simpsons later made a movie depicting something similar, and a mini-series by Stephen King also mimicked my own original idea. The more I thought about it, the greater the idea expanded. Vast wastelands in the Australian outback could be converted into massive dome cities. Dredging huge amounts of salt water and sand into the deserts, the silica turned into glass, the domes capture the evaporate to collect pure distilled, sun-purified water, the salt byproduct of valuable resource and health nutrient. I was solving dozens of problems at a time. Sea level rising? Solved. Erosion? Solved. global warming? Well, the temperature inside a dome can be controlled by plant growth for food and clothing. And suddenly, hey, we don't need to worry about the weather or even housing so much. If we sterilised and quarantined all entries, we could eliminate all pests, parasites, and disease, making a series of such huge glass domes a perfect place to live. I then reasoned that a thick enough glass covering could even be impervious to nuclear attack. The only remaining concern I had left was this polar shift, which some such schools of thought said we were overdue for by almost 1,000 years. So being the problem solver that I am, I realised that the solution would be to complete what the first Noah started and finish the arc, go full circle, dig underground and make the dome into a full globe. That way, all land masses could float like rafts on a cushion of water. And no matter what happened to our planet, each bauble could ride out the roughest seas, the most tumultuous events, and the most that the occupants might feel is a slight rocking to and fro that resembled the tides. And that's when it hit me. What if they've already done that?
That's a beautiful story.
All right. You did it 15 seconds shorter than you said you would.
Awesome.
That's-
I read
So
fast.
I think that's pretty good. All right. Thank you for your opening statement, guys. Real quick, like the video if you haven't liked it. Send a super chat for me to ask in the Q&A. And without further ado, we're going to get into the 60-minute open dialogue here. Please be respectful to each other. And if someone's trying to give an answer, at least let them get it out before you want to disagree with some part of whatever his statement or assumptions might be. That will help the audience hear everything clearer. All right. Starting now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so if you got nothing to say about what I've said, I took a note of every point you made, and I'm more than happy to discuss each one. I think we'll even start with the most simplest one about the moon appearing upside down from different sides on the stationary plane of Earth. You know, if we call the equator the midpoint, then everything inside of the equator is what we call the northern hemisphere, and everything outside of it is the southern hemisphere. And so if the sun and moon are basically going roughly around the equator, depending which way we're looking up at it from, will determine whether it looks one way or the other. So if we stuck a picture of the moon in the middle of our ceiling, stood at one wall and looked at it, and then crossed the room and looked back at it, it would appear inverted. So that doesn't turn the floor into a ball.
But how can that happen? Can you demonstrate that for me? Can you sort of, if you put a clock on your ceiling,
yeah,
and you know the hour hand's going one way, it doesn't matter where you are in the room, it's still going to go the same way. So I think, you know, if you're
I was just talking about the moon being inverted. I was just talking about the moon being inverted. Not the star trails. We can go to the star trails next.
Oh, I thought you would just jump into the star trails. I was like, well, I thought we were talking about
no, just simply about how the moon appears inverted from one side to the other. It's pretty basic.
So
you put a smiley face on the ceiling,
right,
or even your clock. If you put the clock down, you look at it, and the 12 is going to appear furthest and the 6 closest. If you go to the other side of the room, the 6 will appear furthest and the 12 nearest, so it will appear inverted. That's as simple as that when it comes to the moon.
Can you just accept, maybe, for my thought experiment on this, is that when you're in the north and you're looking at the moon, is how it is for me. Okay, I'll bring it up in a second. And then for you, it looks like the moon's upside down. Yeah? But
yeah.
Thing is, I'm trying to fathom how it could work, like especially with the moon. It's quite a thing, because it just seems like you got to go all the way around the houses just to make something work. Where on a globe is literally self-explanatory. It is, I do find it hard to understand how. With the moon rotation, I don't get it. You can explain to me 1,000 times in 100 different ways, like I've heard from flat earthers, and it is I don't know. It's just,
well, your inability to understand is not evidence of it not being quite practical and possible.
Well, yeah.
It's, you know, like,
no,
it could be a you thing.
It's not a me thing. It's not a me
All
thing.
due respect.
It's not a me thing. Literally, we're on a globe, and we see the moon in different ways because of I'm in the north, you're in the south, and that's,
Again, let me just explain. If you did stick a clock on the ceiling, okay, So the 12 is going to look furthest away from you and the 6 nearest. So it would look sort of the way you'd expect. But if you cross the room and look back up at it from the other way, then the 12 is going to be nearest to you and the 6 furthest away. So that would make it appear inverted from your perspective. So that's a very, very simple perspective matter when it comes to the moon. Star Trail's a little bit more difficult.
This is
if you like to go there, but
this is the moon I see. Yeah.
all right. Yeah.
And this is the moon you see. Wait 1 second. Sorry,
Yeah,
I had a lot of coffee. It is the same moon. It's the same moon, but from where you are on Earth, you're going to see it in different ways. So on the equator,
but whatever your argument is for the globe, it works exactly the same on the flat Earth. Only it's more reasonable because sometimes we see it in places where it's absolutely impossible on the globe at the same time. Like sometimes places in the US, in California, are seeing it at the same time as in Australia, and we're like 19 hours time difference apart. Right. And we're seeing it at the same time on different sides of the planet, which would be impossible on a planet.
I really do want to get this, mate. I really do. And you're a cool guy. You're easy to talk to. And I don't want this to be a hostile and anything. That's not what I want. I want a nice conversation with you.
No.
But can you? Okay, with the moon, the moon's obviously it's up high, right? I just don't see. So if here I am in UK, where would I need to be on flat Earth for the moon to be like this?
All you have to do is cross the room, so to speak, which means go across the equator and look up, say, from Australia. That's all you have to do. It's really simple. It's not difficult at all. I could blow your mind a little bit more and tell you that the moon that you're looking at there isn't even the moon. That's actually a holographic plasma projection of the moon, but maybe that's a little bit too advanced.
So to see this moon, right? If I was in UK and to go over the equator, I'm going straight. Yeah, I'm going straight.
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be if I literally left the UK and I was able to walk the whole planet to, towards Australia, the moon would look upside down?
Yeah. So basically, when you're in the UK, when you're looking up at the moon, you're also seeing it towards your south. So it would sort of appear to rise from your left and set to your right.
Where's south?
Well, the opposite of north. North is the North Pole in the center. In the center is the North Pole on our model. That bit right in the center. And then south is outwards in every direction. So wherever you're standing from your personal perspective, you're looking roughly towards the south to see the moon rise in your left and set in your right. Whereas here in Australia, when we're looking back the other direction, we're facing 180 degrees a different way ourselves. So the moon's going to rise from our right, travel across the northern sky slightly, and set to our left. And so, of course, it will appear inverted because we're just looking from a completely different perspective.
Right. I'm about here. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're down here.
I'm down near the easternmost point. So that's you left.
So the equator's got to be sort of here.
Yeah, it's marked there. You can see the circles. Right. You can see. So there's 3 circles there. One's the equator, one's the Tropic of Capricorn, one's the Tropic of Cancer.
Right. So if I was to leave here and go to Australia, wouldn't the moon still be the same? In fact, wouldn't the moon, depending where it is, sort of be further away? So let's say the moon's here in New Zealand. Yeah.
Let's say it goes around the equator. Let's say it goes around the equator. That's the moon goes. Okay, all right. Okay, see, I'm learning. I've heard so many different versions of flat. So let's say the moon's going around here, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's take my arrow for example. Yeah. So let's say I'm passing the arrow from where am I? Here. So at the tip here to you. Wouldn't the moon still remain the same, but you're just looking at the other side?
Because you've turned around and you're looking at it the other way.
Yeah, but in fact, you would look at the other side of the moon, right?
No, No.
Right.
Here's
Okay.
another analogy for you then. Let's think of it like,
No, hold on.
assume you're a fish underwater, you're a deep sea fish, and there's a floating buoy, we call it, but buoy, the Americans like to call it.
Right.
There's a floating buoy on the surface. Now, no matter where you go from, let's say you're 100 meters beneath it, no matter where you swim around in any direction, all you're ever going to see is the bottom side of that buoy. You're not going to see anything above the surface. You're only ever going to see the bottom side. But if you go from one side to the other and turn around and look back at it, you're going to see it look inverted, but you're still only looking up at the bottom side. And that's basically how we all view the moon. We're all looking up at the bottom side of it, just from different perspectives, which makes it appear inverted. Still exactly the same thing. We're just on different sides of the Earth looking up at something high above us.
Right. Let's say there's a disco ball. Like you're in a hall and there's a disco ball hanging up, right? And you put my face on one side and you put your face on the other side. Okay? I'm gonna walk past the ball to the other side of the ball. Is your face gonna be upside down?
I'm not quite following your analogy there. Like,
the point is that it's not upside down. I've just moved one place to the other to this supposed other side of the moon, sort of thing. Do you not see my confusion here, right? That
because you're talking about, say, a single aspect on the ball. You're not talking about the entire ball itself.
No, I need to. So look, this is what I'm saying. You're saying the moon is on the equator. So if we're in a big hall and we put the disco ball dead in the middle, just dead in the middle of the hall, and then we just going past each other, right? At what point does the moon sort of do this? Turn.
Well, yeah, if you stood in one corner, it doesn't matter about us passing each other or whatever. You can just be in one corner and look up at that disco ball suspended. And if you cross the room to the direct opposite corner and turn around and look back up at it, it would appear inverted. And if it was high enough, you'd only ever see the same bottom side.
I don't think height's a factor. I really don't think height
is a factor. I think
it's
a massive factor. It's a huge factor because we're only ever looking up at the bottom side of it. Whereas in a ballroom, it's only going to be like 3 or 4 meters high in the air. It's not going to be,
let's say
12 miles or 20 kilometers or something high. When something's that high, you're only ever going to see one side of it.
Oh God, where am I? Right, the moon is round here. Okay, so at the end of my
it's not fixed in the middle like Polaris, like you're saying.
Okay, so
you're trying to put it fixed in the middle.
Yeah, I'm trying to get an understanding, right? Because if the moon is up high, so if the thingy was at the end of my of my arrow here, I'm walking through. If there's, I don't see how the change in orientation would be the moon on a flat surface.
How can you not see that? You're just explaining it for yourself. You're just explaining it flat out. If you're in the UK, you're going to see the arrow pointing away from you. If you're in Australia, you're going to see the arrow pointing at you.
If it's a globe.
This is such a simple thing. I think we should move to one of your other topics because honestly, if you can't understand something that simple, again, no offense.
Thing is,
good bloke and everything, but I think
I would like to move the conversation on. If you want to spend, one last second with a counter, I'll allow that, and then we can move on. Or I gotta let someone have the last word there.
Right. Okay. We'll leave it there. I mean, my analogy with the hall and the disco ball in the middle. I mean, you just walk past it and you'll just still see a face that's still upright.
When you're talking about a disco ball in the middle, that's the equivalent of, say, Polaris, which is in the north, the very middle of the flat Earth model, and where all compasses point towards from. So it doesn't matter where you are, no matter which direction you look at, you're still going to see it fixed, and it's going to be in the same sort of upright position, so to speak, until you reach the equator, which is the equidistant point away from Polaris, where it vanishes into the convergence point due to natural perspective. Anything high, as you get further and further away from it, appears lower and lower, which is exactly what Polaris does. And so I thought the next point that you brought up was the seasons. I don't know if you'd like to talk about that next. On the flat Earth, it's quite simple. Is that the sun on its average annual journey, it goes around the equator as well. That's what Eratosthenes measured by measuring the angles of the shadows of sticks. He came up with a calculation that of the path of the nearby local sun, which is roughly, let's just call it 25,000 miles, or if you're English, you might understand kilometers as well. It's about 40,000 kilometers.
No, we don't do kilometers. But go on.
You don't do kilometers?
No.
Oh my God. No, you probably still do pounds, do you? Not the dollars. I don't know. You crazy northern hemispherians. All right. So let's say 25,000 miles. That's the average path of the sun on the equinoxes, which is March 22nd and September 22nd. As the sun gets higher and higher, as it passes through this layer of the gaseous atmosphere that I call firmament B, it's not the firmament, it's just the gaseous layer, it creates the illusion of the sunlight appearing, what we call the sun, making a smaller and smaller circle because it gets higher and higher until it reaches the point where at its highest on the June 22nd, it's our winter solstice, the day I was born. It's Northern Hemisphere's summer solstice. That's when it reaches the highest point and starts spiraling back down again. And as it gets nearer and nearer, it makes a bigger circuit through the atmospheric layer, firmament B, until on September 22nd, it reaches the equinox again. And as it gets nearer and nearer, it makes a bigger and bigger circuit until it appears to be going around the Tropic of Capricorn on December 22nd. And so the nearer it is to the atmospheric layer, the more direct sunlight it makes through it, which creates more heat, which therefore creates the summer. So when it's the closest to the Earth, it's actually the southern hemisphere summer, which is much longer and hotter than the northern hemisphere summer when the sun is actually further away, but the apparition it makes is still at the same height. So it creates the summer in the June, July period, when here we're experiencing our winter because the sunlight comes through a much more indirect line of sight. That's no different from being tilted on your model. The problem with your model there is that day and night should be swapping places every 6 months because we only have 24 hours in a day.
Right. So hold on, let me just go back to this. Thing is, right, is you can dance around about how the sun is doing this, moving here, changing heights, everything, going into different paths and everything, but don't you feel that's too exhausting to come up with an explanation of how the seasons could work? I mean, for one, no flat earther can explain how the sun and the moon is sort of just hovering in the sky. I mean, I asked one flat earther and I said, look, you know, what goes up must come down, right? And he goes, yeah, of course. And then I ask him, you know, how is the sun and moon staying up there? And no answer. But thing is, in the model of the globe, it just makes perfect sense. It's you go around the sun for the whole year, and every 3 months with the tilt, as you're going around, you get more exposed to the sun. And then you go around to get less exposed. So you have less energy. That's why the energy from the sun. So in the winter, on our side here, we are well up here, which means we don't have much energy from the sun to sort of, that's why it's so bloody cold here. In fact, it's cold here.
Yeah, but the model I just explained, the model I just explained says exactly the same thing. Well, it's just the sun itself that's changed position. Well, it's not the Earth tilting. And as I said, in your model, day and night should be swapping place according to the clock, because on one side you're facing the sun at midday and then on the other side you're facing it at midnight, because there's only 24 hours in every exact measured day, which is every rotation. That's the biggest downfall of the globe that completely debunks it, so just like that.
So for this season, what is powering the sun to be going around, changing paths and making it do what it does for the seasons to happen?
Okay, so there could be several explanations. The one I'm most think is the most viable is that not only do we have the firmament B, the gaseous layer that reaches 12 to 14 miles high, where all our atmospheric gases are, which are the ones that glow with daylight. Once we go above that, we reach the void. And due to the nature of density and buoyancy, gases like hydrogen and helium, the least dense of them all, get higher and higher and higher. And of course, it gets colder and colder and colder up there. and that is where we then have the frozen hydrogen firmament at around the 70-mile height, which captures in an inverted ocean of superfluid helium, which is the firmament. And some sort of energy source is aimed through this firmament from above, and that is what creates the blinding orb of plasma that we call the sun, and it's shielded within this sea of helium. And that is why scientists tell us that the sun, through spectroscopy, is hydrogen fusing into helium. It's actually cold fusion. There's no heat whatsoever. It's the most cold you could imagine. And then we see that through our own layer of the atmosphere, where it creates another apparition of itself, and that's the thing that we call the sun. So what we see and call the sun isn't actually even the sun itself. High altitude balloon footage, which we've had only in this modern century, in the 21st century, has revealed to us that what we see is this huge orb of plasma way up high, which is literally what they call crowned in thorns, which is where we get this whole myth originating from the Son of God being crowned in thorns, that develops a whole heap of other myths, of him dying on the Southern Cross on December 22nd and all the rest.
So I take it it's been documented then.
Yes, we've got high altitude balloon footage. We've got multiple images you can see of the sun. It looks completely different once we're above the atmosphere than what it does from down below. And also the moon looks like this tiny little speck from up there. It's nowhere near the same size as the sun. But when the moon projects solar radiant energy that hits it down through the firmament B in direct line of sight to each viewer, that is where we see our own personal holographic plasma projection of the moon, 12 to 14 miles high, which gives us the exact same phase that everyone can see at the same time. It just means whatever side of the equator we're on makes it appear inverted or not. But the moon we're seeing isn't even the moon. It appears the same size as the sun, because the screen of the atmosphere is what it's projected through is the same height, which gives them both the same apparent size. They're not, nothing is as it seems, nothing at all.
Right. So with the apparent size of the sun and moon, that is just perspective, really. I mean, the sun is a lot bigger than the moon, but with the sun being so far away, it's apparent that they are the same size.
Well, the atmosphere itself, that atmospheric layer, that ozone layer and the ionosphere and all that sort of acts as a filter as well as a screen. It's a veil that we see through, and that's what gives them their apparent size. Neither of them are real, viable, tangible objects. They're just apparitions of light, which have real effects. Like when you're traveling, for example, and you're watching the moon at night, or even the sun, when you're traveling, they seem to be moving with you. And they literally, in a sense, are, because your apparition is always going to be seen through a direct line of sight of this sort of veil. So a person 1,000 miles away might be seeing exactly the same apparition, but through a completely different part of the atmosphere, which creates two completely different apparitions as much as 1,000 miles apart. And so if you try and triangulate to that and you think they're both a point of a triangle, they're actually not. They're almost like 2 points of a rectangle or a trapezoid or something. And you're imagining that this is the point of a triangle, 60 to 70 miles high. So when you use that as your guide, you're going to say, oh, it's 93 million miles away. When in fact, it's not. It's only 12 to 14 miles high.
12
the
to
apparition you're seeing.
12 to 14 miles?
Yeah, the apparition you were seeing. It's through the veil. So that's what makes it, to you personally, 12 to 14 miles high.
It's a bit precise.
Your sun and your moon at any given moment, that's how high it is.
It's a bit precise.
And if you travel, it moves with you.
It's a bit precise, I must say. I mean, when we talk about I've talked about the black swan with people, and they go throw numbers out like it's 30 miles away. I'm just like, well, how could you possibly? It's
23. I don't know. 26, 23, 27. It's somewhere around that.
Well,
call it 25.
Call it 25. Now, how do you get the number? Is it just a guess, or they've actually gone out and measured that as 25 miles away?
Yeah, no, the thing is a fixed location, so you can look at it on GPS maps and whatever, Google Maps.
Right, okay.
And you can use a measuring tool. It is, I think,
like a tape measure?
It's at least 23 miles. But the point is, after just 6 miles, 24 feet should be hidden. And after 10 miles, you're looking at 66 feet. 67 feet should be hidden in just 10 miles. If we're talking about 60 miles, we're talking about half a mile should be hidden by Earth's curvature if the Earth is a sphere of 25,000 miles circumference. And half a mile is the world's tallest building, a Burj Khalifa. It is the most massive building. Our eyes would detect that amount of drop in just 60 miles, but it's never seen, it's never witnessed. Without curvature, the Earth can't be a globe. There has to be somewhere where it's compensating for this lack of curvature, which would mean there are places that would literally turn the ball Earth into a cube Earth. It would be such a sharp, sudden drop.
Well, the
And
Earth,
we never see it.
well, the thing is, the curve has been measured.
Where?
Well, that's what I was always taught. The curve's 8 inches per mile squared. It's been measured.
That's what it should be, but it's not measured. It's not observed anywhere.
Have you taken a refraction into it or of any sort?
Yeah. I even made a note about that because you mentioned refraction, and it's one of my favorite sayings that refraction does not turn the atmosphere into a magical landscape periscope. If refraction was bending light, all you would see is the glow of light coming over the curve. It would not reveal hidden objects hidden behind gross physical matter or curvature. So you would not see the Chicago skyline, for example, over that amount of hump of water simply because of refraction. That's not how refraction would work if it was such a thing. It's just a go-to that globers often have to use to say why we do see so far that we shouldn't.
Now, I've spoken to flat earthers about this black swan monarchy. Now, if you just go by observations alone, if you saw the one that had no refraction, what would you say is happening?
I don't call it refraction. I call it different atmospheric conditions, temperature. I mean, yeah, you could say refraction in a way, but see, when I was in the pet store industry, my biggest thing was the fish tanks. And what I noticed is if you look at a fish tank through the corner of the tank, you'll see 2 fish where there's only one. That's what refraction really does. It's the bending of images through physical one medium to another type of thing, even the straw in the glass example. So to go from water to air when all the objects we're looking at are in the air, you can't really say it's refraction because it's not a change of medium whatsoever. It's just different conditions creating different results. Like I think the black swan image on the left was probably taken at a very low tide in very calm conditions, very early in the morning, and just happened to allow to see more of something that was ordinarily hidden
refraction,
by other conditions.
Bending light up, yeah?
But it's not refraction bending light up. No, that would be the last thing I'd call it.
No,
because light itself is not going to create a perfect photographic image of a physical object hidden behind another physical object. Refraction just can't do that. It can obscure things better than it will reveal.
I mean, what I can see is that this is on a clear day with no refraction, and they've actually marked it with the line that matches with the one with refraction, seeing that you can see a bit more further on because of, like bending. But on this one here it's actually over the curve. Is the bottom's missing, and it's a clear day. There's no distortion on the oil rigs itself, because if you look at the oil rigs, it's all distorted here.
Or where's the curve? Where's the curve there then? How come the curve that magically rises upwards to eye levels before suddenly dropping off isn't there in that one? I just call it low tide.
You call it low tide, so it's not refraction or.
It's definitely not curvature.
Right.
Well, okay. Why would you explain how curvature always rises up to eye level in 360 degrees around the viewer before suddenly reaching a sharp point called the horizon, as though everybody lives inside of a golf ball dimple world that magically rises and sets or in syncs with them as they change viewing height? It's always at eye level. It's just natural perspective and convergence that creates that effect. And when you create a convergence point due to your viewing height, that's what's going to create a cutoff point to how far you can see, which will then start to obscure further things bottom first, because we can't see through gross physical matter.
Sorry.
But we can see through the air, which is why we see the tops of the ships or the tops of mountains in the distance. It's not curvature, it's convergence.
So, right, okay, we'll just go with that. I mean, I think it's refraction, and because it is a thing, and that's the observation that we see there. I mean, you know, on a clear day, is clearly over the curve. On a day where there's a refraction, it's up, and then the flat earth is like, oh my god, look at that, there's more. So you say that the horizon is always at eye level.
Yeah.
You stand by that?
Yeah, it's a convergence thing, and the fact is that nowadays that we can get much higher, quite often part of what is the true horizon is now atmosphere, and it's also rising up to our level, which will still give the appearance of the ground, say 30,000 feet beneath us, will appear to have this slight little dip, but it's not curvature. Right. It is just convergent. So the clouds themselves will rise up to eye level as well once you're above them.
Yeah, I was just about to say, because there are pictures out there, mainly pictures taken from a height that say otherwise, that the horizon doesn't always go to eye level.
Yeah, well, that's where it comes down to semantics as to what exactly is the horizon. You know, it used to mean bounding circle, which means when you're standing at a point, it's your perspective looking outwards. It's going to be the bounding circle always at eye level because you're on the ground. And that works fine. But once you're up in the air, like I say, a really high way up, well, then a lot of what's beneath you is still air, but still rising up to eye level. Everything is. And everything's also sloping down to eye level. It's just we don't see it so much because, you know, we're not looking through a tunnel. If you did look through a tunnel, you'll see the top is also sloping down. But most of the time,
I want to let you guys know we are halfway through the open dialogue. So we've been going for 30 minutes now. Okay. And yeah, just you guys are doing good as far as not talking over each other and giving each other chances to speak. So I really appreciate that.
I'm just here for a friendly chat, and I want to know more about his worldview, and you know, I'm having fun.
I could explain anything, like your solar eclipse, even you brought up.
Yeah.
That's a simple matter of the fact that on our model, as I say, we got the sun creating its first apparition, or orb plasma in the upper firmament, the sea of superfluid helium. The moon itself levitates just beneath that ocean of superfluid helium. So it is a physical object. That's why it is covered in craters, and it has shadows in craters and everything. And that's what gets projected down to create the holographic plasma projection. But the sun itself is slightly higher than the moon. So every once in a while, when these things are going on their paths, the sun taking the annual journey of an exact precise circle, 360 degrees per day, which is why it's always overhead exactly in every time zone at 12 o'clock midday. The moon is floating underneath it, levitating like a superconductivity device. Every now and then it will come between the sun and the moon in a local position. It doesn't eclipse the sun for the entire world at the same time. It's a very localized thing. And the shadow it casts is generally only about 70 to 90 miles wide, which indicates that the moon itself is actually not very big. In fact, if anything, when you make shadow puppets in front of a light source, the shadow projected onto the wall is much bigger than your hand itself. So the moon might only be a couple of miles big for all I know, and still projecting a shadow 70 to 90 miles wide on the Earth. None of these things are quite as big as we think they are. That's a solar eclipse.
Right. It's that was something. So in the globe now, obviously we know with the solar eclipse the moon passes the sun. All right. But the thing is, did you know that
it comes between the Earth and sun?
Yeah, of course. But did you know that these can be predicted? The solar eclipses can be predicted. So with your demonstration, now if I'm wrong, whatever. I mean, but that's why I'm just getting to know the model. You know, I'm just, honestly, no disrespect to you, Ross. You seem like a nice guy, but I still, I just can't believe flat Earth is around or
It's
exists.
called
But
the
you know,
Saros cycle. It's been known for thousands of years. We've had things even like the Antikythera device, which is believed to be at around 1 to 2,000 years old. It was back engineered and discovered that it was a mechanical, some sort of computer device that could predict these same patterns reoccurring all the time. In the heliocentric model, for these patterns to occur, it would be phenomenally rare. It's almost impossible to imagine if you understand the heliocentric model, and the predictions of them would become even crazier because the speeds involved are literally astronomical. You know, the slower speeds are crazy. Like that we're supposed to be orbiting the sun at the rate 10 times faster than what we've seen an electromagnetic railgun projectile get fired through solid steel and reinforced concrete barriers. The Earth is orbiting the sun 10 times faster than that. That's our second slowest speed. Those things are insane. Once you understand that we live on the stationary planar Earth fixed at the base of the universe, and we're seeing these things slowly revolving around above us, we can start to see cycles and patterns happening, which the Saros cycle describes, of the moon occasionally coming between certain places on Earth and the sun. And that's our solar eclipse. The lunar eclipse is a little bit more intricate because there are several other bodies that follow the sun, much closer to the sun, which is very similar to the moon. And every once in a while, one of them will become between the sun and the moon, eclipsing the moon for all the people able to see the moon at the time to see at the same time. Unlike the solar eclipse, which is a local event, the lunar eclipse is a worldwide event.
so with the so you speak about the lunar eclipse.
Yeah,
we get different sort of coloring. You know, we get the blood moon and everything, and well, I mean, what's causing the colors? What's causing?
That's a really good question, because if no, I wish I could share images, but because my internet's still not working, I'm just on mobile data service. Is that certain high altitude footage of the sun itself, if you zoom right in on the sun, you can see at least 3, maybe 4 different orbs which appear about the same size as the moon. These are what some people in Eastern mythology and cosmology calls the tail of the dragon. Rahu and Ketu, they're like extra bodies. Obviously the sun would be the head of the dragon, the fire breather, and Rahu is occasionally this dark demon moon devourer. So it passes between the sun and the moon. And when that one does it, the moon goes the darkest red. But there are other parts of this body of the tail, all the way to Ketu, which if one of those passes between the sun and the moon will turn a different shade of red, which is also something that the Antikythera device had measured. It will tell you not only when the lunar eclipse will appear, but which shade of red it will turn. Modern cosmology doesn't have a clue when it comes to that. They've got a vague guesswork based on, technology that's mostly been lost. But we come close to predicting our lunar eclipses, and they're usually out by an hour or two anyway, and sometimes not even accurate at all. But depending which one of those bodies passes between the sun and moon will determine which shade of red it appears to us, because of how much solar radiant energy it blocks getting to it.
Does a part of you, even just the slightest part of you, sort of want to believe that it's actually because the Earth is the what is it? So sun, Earth, and moon. So the Earth is in the middle between the sun and the moon, and then
Sure.
and then the Earth's reflection onto the sun. I mean, do you ever think about that and think, actually, let me look more into it? And
look, bro,
your
for years, mate,
explanations
I
are
was absolutely
storytelling.
into that idea.
It's amazing. There's storytelling. And go on, mate. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I'm interrupting you. I just want to say, like, for years, I fully believed what you're saying. I fully believed that the Earth is going to come between the sun and the moon, and then the shadow of the Earth being projected onto the moon is what's going to cause the lunar eclipse. I fully believe that. I've been following the moon cycles for decades and decades of my life. Like, I know what phase not only what phase it is, but what sign of the zodiac it's in, whether it's a fertile sign good for planting or an infertile sign good for mowing or pruning or whatever. I know the moon phases inside and out. So
Right.
when I first saw the best opportunity to watch a lunar eclipse, I was looking out to sea above Cape Byron, the best view, the easternmost point of Australia, completely unobscured. And I expected to see the shadow of the Earth because the sun's set behind me now. It's 9:30 in the evening. I reckon the shadow should come from the bottom and come up across the moon. It's going to look spectacular. And then as I'm watching, all of a sudden, I start seeing the moon get darkened from the top left side and this weird shadow coming down across it diagonally. And I thought, how the hell does that work? And I know everything about the globe model. I know everything about heliocentrism. I know it all inside and out. And this shadow comes from the completely wrong direction, doing the completely wrong thing. It made no sense whatsoever. And I've seen several lunar eclipses since. I've been lucky in just the last 5 years or 6 years alone to see about another 3 of them. And every time the shadow comes from the completely wrong and unexpected direction. It cannot be the Earth. And more than that, Aristotle's big claim that the only thing that casts a round shadow on a round object is another round object. Well, that's not true at all. I've done multiple experiments with a flat board casting a shadow onto a buoy hanging off the clothesline in sunlight, and the shadow is always curved from a flat surface. So even if it was the Earth, which it isn't, it would still cast the exact same shadow that we see on the moon.
I'm sure you can get a curved shadow from a curved object, from like a ball.
Yeah, but it looks completely different. If you use the flat board, it comes up looking exactly like the shadow we see on a lunar eclipse. Exactly the same.
I don't know. I mean, Ross, you're a good guy, man. I mean, it's really good storytelling. I mean, whenever you are explaining lunar eclipse, solar eclipses, and in the chat we had about refraction and everything, it's storytelling. It sort of just goes on and on and on, where you could literally just simplify it and make it make sense. And
yeah, okay.
Especially
a flat
with the
board
solar eclipse,
on a round ball makes a round shadow. Yeah. There you go. Simple.
Well, there you go. All right. And there is.
Well, I like to tell a story because it's about experience, personal experience, which relates to the reality of the world upon which we live. And it's rather than education that we heard in the classroom. My real world experiences, I think, are more relevant because it's personal experience, not classroom learning. Real world experience is far more valuable than something somebody else told you and you just believe it, taken on faith. That's how religions start.
Yeah,
this is anti-religion.
I've spoken to some flat earthers, and literally they are all about magic. Moderator, how long have we got left?
We have about 20 minutes, 19 minutes.
I'm wondering, Ross, if you wanted to talk about the 24-hour sun in Antarctica.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you?
Yeah. Okay, so
I mean, do you accept that back in 2024, when Jerry Whitsitt and Will Duffy and MC Toon went to Antarctica, that they witnessed the 24-hour sun, not the daylight, the sun?
There's a lot of questionable things about that so-called experiment, which is an observation rather than an experiment. They're not really experimenting anything. There's a lot of dubious things that went on with that, and I'm doubtful as to whether it's as authentic as they say it is. However, I still do think that a 24-hour sun in Antarctica is entirely possible with the model that I've come to understand, and it takes a fair bit to explain it.
I'm all ears.
I've got a video on. I've got a video on my channel which goes for nearly half an hour or 25 minutes or something, called Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. And basically, I think the sun is a projection. And what we see in the southern hemisphere is akin to a facet of a kaleidoscope. So if you've ever used a kaleidoscope as a kid, you've got one major facet in the center, and right in the middle of that, that's where I think Polaris is. And when you rotate it one direction, you get multiple facets around the outside, which are all identical to each other. They go in the reverse direction from the one in the center, which is why the stars appear to go the opposite direction. and the sun itself gets projected down through into each one of these facets. So we still see it. So when it's, even though we live south of the Tropic of Capricorn, our sun can still appear to rise in the south or southeast and set in the southwest, because it's actually sort of go on a opposite arc, and it makes the stars appear to go the opposite way as well. So by the time it gets out to Antarctica, which is the outer rim, the outer facet of our Earth, the sun is seen to go in a circle around, but it's in a circle that's only like yay high above the horizon the whole time. The sky color never changes like it does in the north, because when the sun is further in the north and you're in the northern facet, right towards the center, it seems to go in a sine wave, and the daylight almost becomes twilight as it gets lower, and then it gets brighter again. It does a completely different thing from what we see in Antarctica. So I believe if you could go to multiple places in Antarctica and see a 24-hour sun, but you'd be seeing a completely different version of the sun from each one of these 24 different areas in Antarctica. That's possible.
The problem with that is, okay, let me ask you something. In the winter in the Northern Hemisphere, there's a 24-hour night.
Darkness.
Yeah, you agree with that? And then could you also agree that there is 24-hour sun in the north as well?
In the summer, yeah. That's what I was just explaining, yeah.
Right. So when it's 24-hour sun in Antarctica, in the Southern Hemisphere's summer, right, in December time, I think November or December.
December, yeah.
Would you agree that the north now has the 24-hour nighttime? As they say, the 24-hour moon sort of thing. You agree with that? Okay, fine.
Yep.
So let's say they've gone to Antarctica like they did, and they've witnessed the sun go 360 around them, like my bald head, yeah? The sun is going 360 around them. At the same time, here up in the UK, I'm still getting day and night. I'm still getting day and night. And as you go more north, maybe to Norway, as you go north of Norway, it's 24-hour darkness.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
how am I still getting day and night? But then in Antarctica, they've got a 360 sun going around them.
Yeah, well, that's as a result, as I said, the sun basically going around the Tropic of Capricorn. But for some reason that I'm still yet to fully understand myself, the skylight is behaving like a kaleidoscope, and the sun gets projected through different facets, which creates the appearance where it is locally to each and every one of us. So because it's so far south, the sunlight is coming through this huge angle towards the north, and the further north you go, the lower the sun will appear, to the point where you don't see it at all. That's why you get, it's another perspective matter. Whereas in Antarctica, it's pretty much directly over it. In fact, I don't even know why the footage they shows it going around the horizon, when you'd think it would be almost overhead for at least half the day.
The thing is,
it's always around the horizon.
Yeah, but when you watch the videos back, the sun actually dips as well. So as it's going around, it sort of dips.
It does that in the north, yeah,
and the south.
But that's only because of the distance from how far you are from the North Pole.
Well, it does that in the south.
Now,
because the
sun is still going around the North Pole, when it's closest to your location, that's when it appears higher. And when it's on the other side of the North Pole, it's lower, but not so low that it sets from your perspective.
So when they did TFE, the final experiment, where were they?
Well, where your arrow is, that's near South. That's South America there. Yep. So if you go towards,
about there,
that's where Ushuaia is at the bottom of South Africa. So they would South America, sorry. So that would be whatever base is there. I think McMurdo base is somewhere near there. They would have been at one of those bases. Yep.
Right, let's have some fun. I think. Oh God, 1 second.
Probably a little bit further to your left, but I don't know exactly.
Right. So you say about here.
A little bit further to your left.
About there.
Somewhere around there.
Right. Yeah, okay. Probably. So this is where they were when they did the final experiment. But what was happening is up here, where I am, right here in the UK, I was getting day and night, just as normal. But for me, the sun was very low and it was getting dark about 3 p.m. Right?
Yeah.
But here, the sun was doing this. The sun was 360, like all around, just doing that. While here, I'm still getting my day and night cycle, and here, where they were getting a 360 sun. But thing
That's
is,
right.
it was the actual sun. It wasn't sunlight. There was no reflection. There was no evidence of any reflection. No evidence of a dome that some flat earthers are going for. Is so self-explanatory that I wish I'd went, but these guys had the opportunity and the privilege to go down there and watch the sun go around them for 4 days, 360 around them.
I've got no problem with that. As I say, in my model, the sun is still basically going around the Tropic of Capricorn on December 22nd, which is, I think, where Arrow is, about where that pink sort of finishes. It'd be the top of Argentina, I think. Not out of Brazil. That'd be roughly the Tropic of Capricorn. It's a bit hard to see on my small screen.
But then
that's about the path of the actual sun going around above us. But because it gets projected down through different facets of this thing that I've described in the theory called Lucy in the Sky of Diamonds, because it acts like a diamond, they're seeing it in a facet which makes not only the stars appear to rotate the opposite direction, but it projects the sun out on a different sort of path to the point where it's going around the entire facet in those places. So I think there would be as much as 24 facets, like a jewel surrounding Antarctica. And each and every one of them is going to be projecting the sun at that time of year when it's so close to the Earth that it's going to make it look as though it never sets.
You don't follow Joe Hanvey's model, do you? Where there's a reflection from the dome.
No, I don't think so, no.
Okay, so
I believe it's projected through the dome, but it's also projected through something that was described in the Book of Enoch as, the firmament was spread out as a great and terrible emerald, and an emerald is cut like a jewel. So the central facet gives the star appearance that we've used as the zodiac for thousands of years. But once we go outside of that, that's where things get a little bit pear-shaped, so to speak. And that's why we're seeing two individual facets that appear to go the opposite direction. That's why anywhere in the south you look southwards, you're still going to see the Southern Cross and everything appear to be going around Sigma Octantis. But you're still looking a completely different direction, just at a different time of day. So the people in South America, when they're looking at it at their night, it might still be 3 in the afternoon here in Australia, for all I know. But by the time it all drifts around, we're still seeing the exact same stars, even though we're looking a completely different direction. And the same thing then with the southern sun in the summer is that it reaches the edge of that facet, and that's what's giving a localized appearance of a 24-hour sun in Antarctica.
A lot to go by there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I know it's not for beginners.
Thing is, right, is I don't know why. Okay, first of all, let me start off by saying what I wanted to ask you earlier: is the sun inside the dome?
I don't know what the sun is. What I think the sun is a source of energy from outside of the physical realm altogether, and it gets struck into the firmament. And as it passes through the frozen hydrogen firmament, a bit like a laser beam or, say, an arc welder, you've got a huge energy source. When an arc welder welds, when they make contact with the Earth, it creates a blinding orb of plasma. And that is shielded within this huge ocean of superfluid helium, which is why the sun god is often called Helios. And we often even use helium in high-end arc welding to project, to protect.
Has any flat earthers... Have any flat
earthers? Not a physical thing.
Have any flat earthers looked into this and what's the word? Got any evidence for this? Basically, have they tested this?
Well, to me, it's a thought experiment because you can't really test. You can't really test this. We know that the U.S. military back in the '60s had something called, Operation Fishbowl and Dominic and all this, and they tried to nuke the firmament. And in my opinion, what happened is that the superfluid helium that shields the sun also shielded these nuclear bombs from going off that stopped the firmament from going off like a hydrogen bomb. And they realized they can't even nuke their way out of this place. They've done every test you can imagine to try and break through this firmament, and it cannot be done. But the sun itself is not a physical thing, is what I'm saying. It's an orb of plasma in the firmament that moves around the whole time and then creates the other projection through the atmospheric layer, and that's what we call the sun.
Now, I couldn't know how the sun has been measured or how they got the information of what the sun is. Very smart people get the answers for that. So,
yeah, appeal to authority.
Yeah,
that's
well, exactly,
argument.
and that's something I don't want to do. I'm not going to appeal in that way. Look, let's go to the stars because, in fact, there was something I wanted to ask you. Do you have a model?
A model?
Yeah. So that behind you, would you class that as the flat Earth model?
No, that's just a map. That's just
that's
like how the continents are laid out.
So
yeah, like to make a model, you're talking about a working, functioning thing, which literally encompasses all of existence. You know what I mean? And I think that's already been done. If you want to see the model, you step outside and you go, wow, I'm looking at a tiny part of the model. This is the model. We live in the model. We have tiny little bacteria in the model. But
do you believe a model can explain observations and phenomena perfectly?
It can help demonstrate what we know exists. But again, you're asking for something that's going to explain every single phenomenon.
Right.
Whereas from our human perspective, when we look outside, we're only seeing everything through a single person point of view, through our own eyes. So we see our version of the model. Whereas you've got billions of people around the world, and each and every one of them are seeing their own individual version. You cannot put that into a single model. You have to have a unique model for every single point of view if you're going to give an accurate model for how it exists. And to try and do that, you could be sitting at a computer for millions and billions of years and you'd be some sort of god. And maybe that's what he's done, and maybe that's what we're participating in. I don't know.
Yeah,
but you cannot model all of existence.
That's fine, but you can also agree with me that such phenomena has been observed, right?
What phenomena?
The 24-hour sun, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have a model then.
That's not a model. That's an observation from a particular point of view.
Yeah, of course. But I mean,
it's an assumption that it describes the model. But if there's alternative explanations that require less and less assumptions, like, we don't need gravity, we don't need the theory of motion that we've never detected, and your model depends on these phenomenal speeds, the slowest of which is 1/3 times the speed of sound. The second slowest is 88 Mach. That's the orbital speed. That's our two slowest speeds. None of them have been detected. So if you're going to create a model, it has to not only match expectations and theories, it also has to be observable. Your model completely fails. Our model says we are flat and stationary because it appears flat and stationary. We don't need assumption to make it exist.
Do you have a measurement of stationary?
Yeah. 0 equals 0. There's Michelson-Morley, there's Airy's failure. There are multiple different things that show it's the stars or the sun or the moon in motion and not the Earth. There's not one single experiment ever in the history of all science that can prove that the Earth is in motion.
So you have a model, but you don't have a model, but you have a map of what the Earth looks like. But with a model, they can actually you can get observations from models. That's what I believe. You can get observations. You can get certain phenomena that we observe that work on a model.
No, well, the model is basically used to try and describe the observations. You don't make the model to make the observations possible. You observe something and then you try and model it and say, this is what we're seeing. The model is secondary to the reality. The model is just an example. If you're an architect and you say, this is this big shopping center I'm going to build, or you might build a model of it to try and sell it to the people who are going to fund it for you. But that thing is not the reality. The reality is what you've built and people come in and buy goods
But
at.
why? But I'm confused, mate. Why don't you have a model? Why can't Flat Earth have a model?
Why do we need a model? We live on the
Because
model. We're in it.
it explains phenomena.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can give
A
you an
map
example of
doesn't.
the
A
model.
map doesn't explain phenomena.
Well, guys,
Okay.
I do want to let you know that we're nearing basically the
Okay.
last minute or two of the 60 minutes, but we do have another section here with the Q&A. So people get your questions in. We're going to go to those here in just a second. If you would, you can take this opportunity real quick to give kind of like a brief closing of your perspective of what just went down there. And if there's
Absolutely.
anything
I'd
that
like
you didn't get an answer for, maybe you can call it out there. Or if you felt like the other person wasn't answering to, take that opportunity, and then we're going to get into the Q&A.
Okay, I'd like to finish real quickly then
Yeah.
with ending that particular topic we're talking about a model, is I can take any sized dish, plate, bowl, swimming pool, wading pool, dam, ocean, whatever size you want. And I can place a bunch of big rocks into this thing that all stick above the water level. And I can pour water on each and every one of those rocks. And each one of those, the effect of that is going to recreate what happens when it rains, when we have rivers and streams and lakes. And eventually it's all going to reach sea level. I can make that at any size scale whatsoever, whether it be, the tiniest dish to the biggest lake. And it'll always have one atmosphere of pressure above it, mimicking exactly what we observe here on the stationary planar Earth fixed at the base of the universe. However, if I was to take a ball and set it spinning, I could not replicate water. I could not replicate air pressure in a vacuum. You can absolutely not model the globe, but you can so easily model the flat Earth at any scale you like.
All right.
Okay. No, I know. It's the end. It's the end now. It's closing statements. Okay.
Yeah, there might be
that's
something
fine,
that
that's fine.
comes up in the Q&A that can allow you to riff on
Yeah,
what you
no
might want
problem.
to talk about a little more. But yeah, generally an hour. We try to keep it to, and then I close it out kind of around here. But yeah, give a quick 2 to
course,
4
yeah.
minute if you want.
Oh, is he gone? Is he? That's fine.
Hey, where'd you go, Iron Horse?
Do you need to wait for him, or should I just crack
I mean,
on?
typically people don't get up and walk away, so just
Let me
gonna
just
wait like 10 seconds.
Yeah, I can wait 10 seconds. I can wait 10 seconds.
I don't think you rage
But
quit,
I want to say something. Whilst we're waiting for him, I just want to bring up an example for the flat
well,
earthers.
this is a great opportunity for me to tell the audience about something here.
Yeah, go on then.
So one second.
That's fine.
We're gonna cut to this Yonaguni ad real quick, guys. You deserve to hear it one more time because I know at least one of you are gonna end up in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico, and you're gonna be like, "Man, where can I get some slam and Asian Latin combination?" And this is the place right here, Yonaguni. So it's my job to tell you about it. That's what I'm doing. Sometimes people will never go if they don't know. So they're a big sponsor for us for DebateCon 8. So I'm gonna shill for them, guys. One more time to remind you, this is one of our sponsors for DebateCon 8, and they work very closely with the conference, and you might meet them if you go. So yeah, now that Iron Horse is back, we're gonna get back into Danny's closing.
I'll make it sweet and short and sweet, whatever you want to say it, which way. So Iron Horse, I like you a lot. Okay, and we've had a good chat. We've had it, and I must say, some of your answers felt like it went round one street and then crossed the equator, came back onto another street, got lost, and then found some magic, and then just went bang, there I am. I'm back to where I was. So, like, you are an amazing person. I really did enjoy this chat, and I don't know what to say really. I mean, look, you don't have a model, that's fine, okay, but I still think that a model does explain phenomena and a map doesn't. I can't see why flat earth can't have a model, but then some of flat earthers, they claim there's an infinite plane. They say that the map behind you is the right one. There's so many maps, you can't bloody fathom it. But if any flat earther was to ask a glober or many globies, what the Earth looks like, we'll all say the same thing. That we won't go around the houses with it. But with flat Earth, there's too many models, and it gets a bit confusing. Now, I'm going to end it with this. All right, you are a nice guy, and I've really enjoyed the chat. I'm going to end it with this. A wise man once said, "Flat Earth doesn't have a model because you can't model something that doesn't exist." Now, in the chat, if you know who it is, put it down. Thank you very much. That's my closing statement.
Okay, so we are now going to get into some Q&A, and the very first one here is Even Lord 7825 for 5. Appreciate you, man. What is more plausible theory, a hollow Earth or a flat, infinite plane Earth? Please don't include the sphere Earth as an answer. Hello, Mr. Mike. Hello, Even Lord. I guess this is for both of you.
Oh.
But he did say don't include the sphere Earth for an answer. So I guess maybe he's just asking your opinion on this one then, Daniel. And then I know Iron Horse has an opinion on it. So
if I had to
whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, if I had to answer, and I had to, hollow Earth. Yeah.
All right. What about you, Ross?
It's funny because I did leave out something I wanted to put in my introduction, which did begin with hollow Earth that led me to flat Earth, is that I read a book many years ago that described how the Earth actually gets bigger towards the interior. If we measure plumb bobs, they get further apart as we go further down. And the whole book was about the hollow Earth. But if that works and we live on a globe, then we'd actually be on the inside surface. And as it spins, that would be sending things further outwards as they went out. So the hollow Earth actually makes far more sense than the globe Earth. But then when it comes to seeing things like the sunset, for example, and having a horizon on a hollow Earth, there would be none. It would continue out and continue going upwards. So the sun should come up again. So the only thing that really makes sense is the flat Earth.
Okay, thank you for your answers, guys. We're going to move on. There might be a couple in here that aren't exactly questions, but they're quick statements that you can respond to if you feel called for it, but I'm just going to speed through them if I don't think they're exactly relevant. Another one from Even Lord, actually, for 2 says, I would buy Iron Horse's autobiography. Peak.
Do you know what? I would as well.
Oh, thank you. That was just the Reader's Digest version of it that I could actually write an entire book.
I think it would be a
I
very...
had to stop myself writing as I wrote that out.
It would be an interesting read.
It would.
It would.
I agree.
I'll buy it.
All right, I'll write it.
All right. So I'm doing a kind of compliment sandwich here. So we got a good one there, and this one you might want to snap back at. Let's see. Bless my vibe code for 10 says, Iron Horse, I really, really, really do not care about your life story at all. I don't know you and I never want to. I only want to hear why the earth is flat. Your opening is incredibly dull and boring. What are you going to say to that?
The feeling is mutual. I just thought it was going to lead to somewhere because by telling a personal story of how I came to understand the nature of reality that we live upon, by looking for solutions, I eventually came to the conclusion that, yes, if we lived inside this massive bauble with the earth floating in the center with slight little tides, that matches exactly what we experience already. And so what if they have already done it? I thought it was a good story that led somewhere. And if you don't like it, I don't care. Don't buy my book. I won't read yours.
That's fair.
Fair enough.
All right. Right here. I mean, most of these are people, I guess, who are interested in responses from Iron Horse. I'm trying to find one for Daniel so I can go back and forth here for a second. Here we go. Jim Daniels says, shout out to Daniel Turner Globe for staying awake during all this dribble.
Yeah,
that's cold, Jim. That's cold.
It's 3:30 in the morning for me. Yeah.
Oh yeah, UK.
And I still look
about that. All right, appreciate your positive attitude, Ross. All right, you're saying it's inverted because you know you can't explain. This is from Jack Fetter for 5. Look at a ceiling fan from anywhere in the room, and it will always rotate in the same direction.
Yeah, but the moon is not rotating. We're not talking about the rotation of the moon. We're just talking about looking at a static moon from one side of the room to the other. So leave your ceiling fan off, go and put a blue dot there, a red dot there, and a yellow dot there, and walk to the other side of the room, and then they'll be inverted from your point of view. We're not talking about a ceiling fan. What a moron.
Can I add to this just
Mm-hmm.
really quickly?
Yeah, you can respond to any one of them.
I wanted because I wanted to mention earlier about the disco ball, right? And when the light hits the disco ball, it goes around. So my point was, where in the big hall that it's in, are you going to be for the lights to be going the other way?
You just turn around and face the other way.
But they're still going the same way.
You look at it, and they're going that way, and then you turn around and look, and the lights are going the opposite way from your perspective. Or you could do this. You could just go, put your head back, and look upside down, and they're still going to appear to go from right to left instead of left to right.
Yeah, you got a response to that, Daniel?
Yeah, I don't. With all respect, mate, no. It's going the same way. It's all going the same way. I love you, man, but it's all going the same way. It's all going.
Maybe you could. What's getting passed around in the nightclub too.
Maybe you can dovetail that answer off of this one too. LJ69 for 2 sends 2 back to back. First one: why doesn't Earth spin under a hovering helicopter? Second one: if you dig straight down, will you come out upside down?
So for the first one, the helicopter one, I think he says this one a lot actually, LJ. I think he's one of your big supporters. It's conservation of momentum. So it's the helicopter actually hovers with the atmosphere. So that's the answer for that.
What if the wind's blowing the other direction though? What if the wind's blowing west or east? Isn't the wind the atmosphere?
Is the wind atmosphere?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Isn't it?
Well, what is it?
Wind.
What's the atmosphere then?
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'll reread that question there. I don't know when I got muted. Probably after I read the last one. It was 2 back to back. Thanks, whoever said that. 2 back to back from.
I think it's LJ.
Hovering helicopter.
LJ, yeah. Why does Earth spin under a hovering helicopter? And if you dig straight down, will you come out upside down?
So
it's been a minute since I did that.
The helicopter actually travels with the atmosphere. That's why when you're in the car and you throw something up, it doesn't sort of shoot back and everything. And the second question is, if you actually dug down through the Earth, like right through from top to bottom, and you jumped in, all you'll be doing is just going up, down. You'll just be shooting up and down.
And you'd probably get stuck in the middle, wouldn't you? And
no.
All molten and stuff.
No, you'll just go down and up, and you'll just do it just forever. And I guess until you lose some momentum, maybe. But the reality would be is you go down and up, down, and you just shoot through this massive hole, up and down, up and down, up. It'll be very boring.
So it's a nice thought experiment, but the reality is we can't dig any further than about 8 miles. Slightly less than 8 miles, and nothing can penetrate any further than that. And 8 miles is only like about 50% of the thickness of the crust of what the molten, crusty, organic spinning spaceball believers think we live upon. So we can't go anywhere near that sort of thing. Everything when it comes to do with gravity is thought experiment. Everything to do with it. Everything in reality says we have a universal up and a universal down. We can't go any further than 8 miles deep. So why bother ourselves with things that don't really concern us? Let's deal with reality rather than theoretical thought experiments of living on a molten, crusted, spinning space ball, hurtling 10 times faster than an electromagnetic railgun through a vacuum of space.
So I'll say this one for Jim Daniels because he sent 2. The first one was to shout out Daniel. Second one was, if a claim lacks supporting evidence, data, or logic, it can be dismissed without needing a counter argument. Iron Horse, please support your claims.
Well, that's exactly what the globe is. You can't prove a spinning space ball in a vacuum of space to begin with. As I said in my concluding argument, that I can model the flat Earth in any scale whatsoever, from the size of a tiny dish with little rocks in it and pouring water on it, to a puddle or a lake, you name it, any size, my model works because water will do exactly what we observe it doing all the time. It'll always seek and find its level. You try and mimic a ball in a vacuum of space with an atmosphere clinging to it and multiple depths water flowing different directions up and over humps, all the rest of it, spinning and hurtling and speeding through a vacuum. That's insanity. That's the claim we dismiss without any evidence. Sanity is believing in the flat and stationary Earth.
Want to say anything real quick, Daniel, before I move on?
No.
All right. So this is from Detroit Dabbler for $5. Danny did definitely not write this. I'm joking. At no point in your rambling, incoherent opening were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber. That is a quote, I believe.
That's the sort of thing that people say when they lack the intellectual capacity to understand something, so they dumb it down to their own level and then they project it as they understand it.
All right. We just got a couple more here, and then I can take some from the live chat if they want for the last 10 minutes.
Come on, guys, get your super chats in. Come on.
Yeah,
Support the channel.
guys, get your
Support the
super
channel.
chats in. All right, bless my vibe for 10. Thank you, sir. As an American, I thought we had some dumb people who vote in our country. But holy smokes, if they're all like Iron Horse in Australia, that country must be beyond doomed. Australia is a joke, LMAO.
Be nice.
Rebuttal.
Be nice.
Yeah, so he's probably having a bit of a go at me because of my experience as an exchange student when I went to the United States and saw exactly how dumb people are over there. They are so dumb. And I'm not saying you are individually, Mike, but if you were brought up with the American educational system, then you probably are.
I'm
as
from
well,
Texas. It's the best country in the world.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. Sorry.
Best
You're
country in the
Texas,
world.
not an American. Yeah, I went to California, and honestly, I would sit in my classroom sometimes and just look around and say, oh, like, shit, what am I doing in this room full of dumb Americans? They all seemed like NPCs, every single one of them. And I didn't know what I was doing there. I wished I was back in Australia doing normal shit, learning real education. America was an eye-opener as that just how dumbed down society has become. And yeah, I think it's only getting worse. We live in a true idiocracy at this moment in time.
They did send a follow-up one saying America with a Canadian 51st state. I think that part's in parentheses as a joke. Just went back to the moon. Europe helped. Australia's still in flat Earth mode. Bah ha 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 ha. USA, USA, USA.
Well, what can I say? Yeah, we went to the moon. Of course we did.
Good man. He's coming around.
Yeah, we found some common ground there between you two.
He's coming around. Artemis went around the moon and came back.
Trees.
Did the audience expect that one?
There we go.
All right. So yeah, we got 30, I believe. These are Uruguayan something or others. Yerba Mate Talks is doing an after show open panel where they discuss the debates on this channel that they watch here in the chat with each other, and you guys can call into that, I believe. Max could post a link probably.
If it's Max, yeah, I wouldn't bother. He's a freak.
He's a regular. He's a regular.
I like Max. He's all right. He's a good guy.
Leo Crow. We just got a question here from Leo Crow 1919 for 5. How did Einstein use the data from Michelson and Morley's testing to come up with time dilation and length contraction? See, guys, these are the types of comments you need to be asking right here.
Yeah, that's a good question, because basically what happened with the Michelson-Morley experiment is that they discovered they were trying to detect the Earth's orbital motion, not the spin on its axis, as some people erroneously believe. The orbital motion is meant to be like about Mach 88. So it's a huge speed. If we're meant to go around the sun, that's 93 million miles away, slightly elliptical, in 1 year, then we're traveling about 1,600,000 miles in a day. And so if you set up a light experiment where you've got two lights bending through mirrors and reflecting off other mirrors coming back to one another, and it's pushed forwards through a linear trajectory, then the light that is going one direction in towards the mirror should be reflected backwards faster than the one that's falling behind and have to catch up and go forward. So that's how they worked out we could measure the speed of the Earth. And they found they had a null result. There's no difference whether you're going forwards or backwards, whatever. You're just getting the exact same result. And they did this to a degree that was some 70 times more accurate than it needed to be to give a result. So it was extremely, extremely accurate. And so when Einstein heard about this, he just came up with the theory of relativity, is that you can appear to be in motion when you're not in motion because the other things are in motion, basically, is what he's saying. So the Earth isn't in motion, and yet that is an absolute requirement for the heliocentric belief, and therefore the globe Earth to even be remotely possible. What we discovered is the Earth isn't moving, and therefore the whole heliocentric model falls apart. There's only one physical realm fixed at the base of the universe, and what we're seeing moving around above us is what the things are doing, moving around above us, not the Earth.
All right, I do want to give Daniel a chance to respond to that if he wants. Michelson and Morley testing, come up with time dilations. Is there any contention, or are you strictly on board there? We can just move on.
Yeah. It's
All right, that's what I thought. I just don't want to assume things, because obviously, he agrees we went to the moon. So now I'm just totally confused what anyone
loving
believes.
it.
Okay.
Welcome to
What
the
is
Globe
what is a vacuum? Asked Nicholas Hobbs.
A vacuum is technically the complete absence of any physical matter, which is also technically an impossibility, because a true vacuum would then ultimately become a black hole, and it would suck everything into it, including light. So there is no such thing as a vacuum. What we can do is replicate something near to a vacuum and remove most of the air molecules to give us what we would call a vacuum, but it's not possible.
Yeah, apparently no one can tell this guy what a vacuum is, he says. You seem to have done it. I don't know if he agrees or disagrees there. All right, guys, you got any more questions? We got just a couple minutes left here. And then we can give some shout outs to your channels. Let me see if I miss any here. I appreciate you guys being here. I feel like it's probably one of the more respectful debates that I've been a part of, minus that one comment.
Is our links in the chat? In the description?
I believe so. I don't make those descriptions, so you'd have to double check for me. No, I don't want to read that out of context. If he was talking to someone in the chat, looked like it might have been for you guys.
Yeah, people are seeing the feedback on YouTube at all. I'm just seeing it on whatever on here, Zoom, and it still says your name is James Kunz. Is that correct?
It will say that, and people will call me James.
Right.
But it's not me. That ain't me. It's a company Zoom. All right, let's see.
Busy lately. Seems like
he's planning DebateCon 9 right now, and we got DebateCon 8 coming up, guys. Get your tickets if you're able to make it to Dallas, Texas in July. Let's see. I guess this comments end right at the Einstein or Michelson and Morley there. And just checking to see if there's any more in the live chat. That it seems like they're debating the vacuum thing right now.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, isn't absence of oxygen?
Yeah, I find the oxygen, the vacuum equation really interesting, because we often talk about a vacuum chamber and how water will boil instantly inside of a vacuum at room temperature, and yet it turns out that the height that aeroplanes normally fly at, around 35,000 feet, if you broke the pressurized seal of one of those planes at that height, it's the equivalent of one of the strongest vacuum chambers we can make down here on the surface. It's kind of weird. So if you had water in a cup and the oxygen mask fell down because you lost pressure, technically all that water would start boiling straight away. Weird.
All right, Max, I'll entertain this question, even though I don't know if y'all have talked about it before. He says, "Can I ask Iron Horse what the first sentences of MMX experiment says and what that means?" Or sentence? First sentence.
First sentence of
MMX
Mickelson one.
experiment. And what
Well, it
that
depends who
means.
wrote it, doesn't it? No, it depends who wrote it. There's multiple different versions of the Mickelson-Morley experiment, and I wouldn't know which one he's talking about. Maybe he should say the sentence, and then I can tell him what it means.
Okay, while he does that, since I'm sure he's listening, Jonathan Kelly sends 5 and says, "Everyone is wrong. Earth is an umbilic torus suspended in the aether." Rebuttal, gentlemen?
No.
There's definitely a thought experiment which cannot be disproved, which says that we don't even exist and that we are literally just brains in space, and that everything we think is real only exists inside our own imaginations, and so we are the authors of that make reality as what it is, and nobody can disprove that one. I tend to think that when you reach the stage where you can contemplate that that is a possibility, then you're probably actually living in a reality, but you could still be the brain in space imagining it. It's a tricky one.
You know
All
what,
right, so
Ross? I would
go
love
ahead.
to. I would love to interview you. I would love that. It would be very
Definitely.
All right, let's
interesting.
do it.
We'll keep in
Definitely could
touch.
We
set
could do
that
that.
up, guys. You guys do what y'all got to do. It seems like y'all could talk for days. But this question here is kind of a more interesting one that I thought maybe we'd get sooner. Park Bums says, "Ask Iron Horse how he thinks the government makes sure all the astronauts that went to the moon recently don't expose the truth if it's actually fake." Fake.
That's a good question.
That's not difficult. That's not difficult at all, because where every single person who enrolls in any military exercise whatsoever, first of all, they sell their soul to the government. They sign non-disclosure agreements. They sign everything away, and they say everything has to be protected for national security. So that's really, really easy to control. That's like even the most basic military grunt who got sent to Vietnam had to sign some sort of non-disclosure agreement that, by pretending you're going to the moon, that's easy.
The thing is, if
Give
this
them
was
a
all
nice
top secret,
little carrot.
how did it get leaked?
Because there's always going to be people, the truth always finds a way out. It will always come out, no matter what. And you've got people like me who can just discern it. I don't have to actually have it leaked and be told to know that it's fake. I can just discern it from obvious facts. Same as like with 9/11 happened, within 3 days, I knew that was an inside job. It was not a terrorist attack by outsiders from Arabia or something, whatever they said it was. I knew.
I just couldn't see why they would have to sort of be forced to hide something going into space, going to the moon. I don't see. NASA is, I think it's government funded, and okay, they do take a lot of money, but you have to understand how much training is, how much the equipment is, how much it is to build these rockets that go into space. So there's
they're a branch of the military. That's right. They're an
yeah,
absolutely branch of the military. .gov. It's all top secret sort of stuff, and it's a great way of making money disappear as well as giving the public propaganda, smoke and mirrors, bread and circuses, to try and distract them from the things that were really going on, such as the Vietnam War, and they were terribly losing. Oh, let's send men to the moon. That will be a really good distraction. The whole world believed it because it was so out there and it was so new and modern. They could see it on television. It was all faked.
right. But I mean, they have all this money, right? Wouldn't you think that all the money they get from the government, which is only a very small percentage, by the way, is wouldn't they, if they were to fake it, they would actually make it so clean that it would look fake? I mean, because sometimes they would be in space, and sometimes they'll have filming where it could cut out here and there, and it's not so stable, sort of thing. I'm trying to figure the word now, but the thing is, if it was faked and with all that budget that they have, then you would think that when they're staging it, it will be like clean. It will be clean with no errors. But sometimes when they're in space, they'll be filming a live broadcast, then it would just skip, and it might, you know. I don't think that with all that money you could. What am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that there's no point. There's no point faking it, because you've seen the rockets go up. You've seen them go sort of over the curve to get into orbit and that. But I think all that money and they fake it and they don't make it look pristine and make it look clear and good to the eye and everything. And I don't know. It's just you got to get this
I think
out.
you're jumping.
You got to get the fake.
I think you're jumping around
head.
from topic to topic a little bit here, because we're talking about the moon landings, and then you're talking about the way they faked the ISS sort of thing with all the glitches that happened. There were very few glitches with the moon landings themselves, because it was all shot in a studio. That's all straight, film.
So would you say they were glitches?
No, I think in the moon landings themselves there weren't, but we got them in the modern day stuff because they're using green screen technology and different CGI sort of stuff, that you get far more glitches now with the technology than you did back in the day where they hardly had it. It was much easier to fake it in the studio back in the day than it is to do it in the studio today with all the CGI stuff and trying to put in the green screen backdrops of fisheye lens curvature of Earth, which you can see going from concave to convex in certain imagery all the time. There's no continuity in any of their shots. They fake it terribly. And that's how we know they fake
Ross, if someone gave you all the money in the world, they said, look, I want you to make an AI film, or, a CGI film, as I don't know how you'd want to call it. Wouldn't you make it so crisp and pristine with no glitches, no cuts, no, you know what I mean? No interference.
With today's technology, I probably could, but AI is not very good at that still. And that's probably why they can't release actual footage of this last Artemis mission, because they thought they could get away with it using AI. And even they realized, no, it's not good enough. So they don't release nearly as much footage as we would like to see.
I was going to ask an audience question of, are they arguing about Artemis yet? But you just beat me to it, man.
Right. Okay. They probably are.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe we went back to the moon.
I don't know who
around
is saying no free super chats too. I don't know. This is kind of what we do. If there's not enough questions, we ask for more questions. That's how it works.
They only pretended to go around the moon. They definitely didn't go to the moon. And even then, the biggest social thing,
Iron Horse, I do have the document that Max was talking about pulled up here. It's the American Journal of Science. It's a PDF scan that I have. He posted it in the chat. I'll just read the first two sentences, and then he said, explain what those two sentences mean. But it's the discovery of the aberration of light was soon followed by an explanation according to the emission theory. The effect was attributed to a simple composition of the velocity of light with the velocity of the Earth in its orbit. So he said, how does this guy know about this in 28? I don't remember exactly the date, but 1800s.
The thing is that they found no aberrations whatsoever, according to expectations, assuming that the Earth was in motion. They found zero. And eventually, what they did is they described it as Lorentz's, it was on the top of my head, just top of my tongue for a second, Lorentz's contraction, so that they're saying that the light itself contracts as we're moving into it to create the appearance that it's not moving. That they come up with excuses after excuses. That's exactly why Einstein himself said he came up with the theory of relativity, to try and somehow compensate for this aberration, that we can't detect motion of the Earth.
Welcome to comment, Daniel.
No.
All right. Cool, guys. We have 2 minutes left, so why don't we take this opportunity to shout out your channels, and for me to say, if you haven't yet, get a ticket to DebateCon 8. Come hang out with us in Dallas. It's going to be amazing. as James would
Yeah,
say.
I was going to say.
I
you're
know
right,
he's
James.
quoting Jesse Lee Peterson. People don't think I don't know that, but I know that. It's just funny
Oh,
because
I'll
I
go.
think he said it more now than Jesse.
I,
It's the thing.
I can go first if you want.
But he did start it. I agree. Chat. All right, Daniel, go ahead. Tell us where you can find you.
Yeah, so I am an up and coming channel on YouTube. I think my I'm plugged into the description, and check me out. I've got loads more content coming. I've started to do interviews. I've interviewed journalism and Craig FTFE. I'm looking to interview MC Toon and Will Duffy. I'm still need to, but I would love to interview Ross. I like you, Ross. I don't think you're savable because I think you're really into the flat Earth movement. But I would love to have just to get you on my show and just have a chat with you. I do other good videos as well, but I mean, just go check the channel out and everything. And if it is plugged in there, why not? And drop me a sub. Like I said, I'm up and coming, and I've got some more content coming out. So thank you very much.
All right. Mr. Iron Horse, if you want to point us your way.
No worries. No, I appreciate that, Daniel. I'm happy to help your channel out. I just have a very low key YouTube channel. Mostly doing, I find most of my debates or discussions now on Facebook because that's where all the groups are happening. And I find multiple globetards every day. And I just like to set them straight on the errors of their way because, when time permits. You're welcome to find me as Iron Horse on YouTube. Sometimes on Quora as well. I'm not out to make a big name for myself. I just think the truth will speak for itself, and I'm just here to defend it. I'm nobody in particular, just a normal guy doing what I do, and I'll stand by the truth wherever I can. And if it comes to have to debunk silly, superstitious, ancient beliefs like the globe, then I'm your man. Thank you.
All right. How about one question for the road, guys? This one was explicitly addressed to both of you, and I feel bad because he was probably one of the few people who wanted like a more sincere question answered. And maybe you addressed it already, Ross, in your opening. I might have missed it. But he said, question for Daniel and Iron Horse. Wouldn't it be a ridiculous coincidence that the moon and the sun are just the right distances away to appear the same size from Earth, despite their purported sizes? Last one, and then we're gonna wrap it up, guys. Unless someone sends a super chat, maybe I'll extend it 5 more minutes. But I do have to wake up early tomorrow.
Well, I believe that they have shot radar to the moon and the sun and got their distances. So I would have to say they are not the same. You know, what was it? Yeah.
Talking about the side.
I do apologise. It's
He's
4 in
talking
the
about the
morning,
apparent
so
side.
Yeah, I respect that you're up doing it. It was
sorry, say again.
Wouldn't it be a ridiculous coincidence that they're just the right distances to appear the same size from Earth, despite that they're not the same size?
Yeah.
So acknowledge that part, but just
Yeah.
why does it seem like they are the same size to the layman? His question.
Yeah, it'd be ridiculous.
And in fact, though, that is what happens. That's why when we see a solar eclipse, the moon perfectly matches the size of the sun. If you take a picture of them, especially through a filter, obviously, because you've got to filter out the glare of the sun, they appear the exact same size. So that is an amazing coincidence, considering one is meant to be 400 times further away and 400 times larger and still appears exactly the same. It's almost too coincidental, which to me still brings everything back to we have to have some sort of intelligent creator to create such a thing, to make such a thing possible, especially the model as we see it. It didn't result from a big bang, which is the only way that we can make the globe Earth possible. So by extrapolating all the facts out of all the evidence we have to think that the physical base of the universe is fixed. And then the projections of the sun and moon, when they come through a localized atmospheric firmament, the ozone layer, 12 to 14 miles high, is what creates the apparition of light it appears identical in size to the eye of the viewer because the distance is virtually identical at all times.
Appreciate that detailed answer, sir. And you guys, thank you again for being on here. Thank you, chat, for being engaged. You guys have been going crazy in the chat the whole time. We did a couple polls. I think they're wrapped up there. Did a pre and a post. Sometimes it kind of just depends on how much promotion's done. So don't take it too much to heart sometimes. But guys, check out these guys and support their channels if you want to go and debate with them on their channels. Obviously, I'm sure they welcome that because iron sharpens iron. And thank you again for watching our debate channel here. Get your tickets to DebateCon 8, and we'll see you there. Thank you, guys. Y'all have a great night.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, so they're hearing the music and the video again. Appreciate you guys. That's like I said, I wasn't just talking shit when I said that's one of the more respectful debates for a contentious topic.
No, you did a great job, and Daniel, I'm very impressed with the way you carried on too. Like, we didn't go head to toe like some. I find a lot of Globe defenders get very emotional about it.
Yeah, sorry, that's my cat. I'm a lover. I don't, you know, you got people like Craig, bless him. He's a good friend of mine. And
I've met Craig at DebateCon 6. He's a funny guy.
He's amazing. Like, he's amazing. Yeah, I mean, like, when he debates, think about Craig is if you talk to him with respect nicely, he'll give you the back. But he'll treat you how you treated him. I've debated with him like 7 or 8 times. Yeah, he's horrible. He is the uttermost horrible person I've ever met. But you know what? In real life, I've met him in real life, and he is an absolute fucking saint. He's a really nice person. But
yeah, I'm sure.
But I don't have time to be screaming and shouting. I just want to have a pleasant chat, because honestly, I can never go to the flat side, because the evidence is just it's all there. We got so much evidence that it's a globe. Have you got bendy water evidence? That's the thing I want to see. Bendy water. If you can prove that to me, I'll go back to the globe side. But you can't. You don't have it. I mean, we've got pictures from space and everything with the blue marble. No, you don't. Oh, we do. We do. we do. Look, Ross. You don't. You know,
it was great.
All jokes aside.
Should I put it back on?
No. I'm just kidding. All jokes aside, I mean, it was a healthy debate, and it was nice to actually answer questions, and I just wanted to get a worldview. You know what I mean? Because I've spoken to so many flat earthers, and I just hear different stories all the time. It's like this. It's like this. We don't know what it is. Oh, we do know what it is. It's this far. No, it's not this far. I mean, I'm just lost. So.
Well, no, I think the way you're going about it, you could flesh something out. Sorry, talk over you there.
So I was just saying, you asked respectful questions, and I thought I'd just give you a respectful answer to the best of my knowledge to how it worked. And I think that I actually did answer the things you had issues with.
Do you know what? I do salute you. I take my hat off to you. I mean, do you know what? There's flat earthers out there who won't answer questions. Like Nathan Thompson. Honestly, I don't know why Modern Debate platform him.
So I think that the thing with us is it's not about giving someone a platform to empower like a specific belief. It's more of like giving the opportunity for it to be challenged, because we don't believe that any ideology, belief, practice, or whatever should exist in a vacuum and in an echo chamber where it's never able to be challenged, you know? So whether you're pro one thing, con another thing, like if no one's talking that are on those opposite sides in a kind of at least somewhat respectful way, I don't really see like how things would progress in one direction or the other positively.
Well, the thing is, a year ago, James reached out to me, and it was Nathan Thompson and someone else to do a 2-on-2. And he came back to me and said, oh, Nathan wants to know what you're going to be talking about. So I said, I want to do the 24-hour sun, and I want to do observation and star trails. I want to, boats over the horizon, all that stuff. And then I get an email back from James and said, debate's off.
Yeah, I think didn't he end up doing the debate with the guy who dressed like a chicken or something?
Oh no, this
Duck?
was about a year ago.
Oh, a year ago.
But I
Okay, so this
think
was in the last 6 months, I'm sure.
I think though, when he rejected me, he did it with Will Duffy.
That's what it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
and Duffy made like an elaborate duck costume.
Yeah. And you know the on my closing statement, the wise man once said, "Flat Earth doesn't have a model because you can't model something that doesn't exist." That was Will Duffy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that
The
debate
guy
between
that
them two is heated.
He
Yeah.
openly, publicly admits that it's okay to lie, and he's meant to be a pastor.
Will Duffy?
That's Will Duffy. Yeah,
I didn't know he was a pastor.
Record. He's a pastor. Yep. And
Maybe
he's
I'm
done
thinking of
for
someone
multiple
else.
amounts of fraud. Yeah, he's the pastor that did the Antarctic experiment.
Okay,
Yeah,
then you know
the
what? I'm
TFE.
thinking of someone else that debated Nathan.
Yeah.
He was a little chubby, curly hair, glasses.
Yeah, no,
that-
that's not Will Duffy.
Okay, yeah,
No,
then I
that's
was
not.
mixing them up.
That's not him.
Yeah,
Just
but I'm
sounded
not
familiar.
a huge fan of Nathan myself either.
I'm going to
I've had clashes with him on TikTok. Yeah, we were supposed to be on a flat Earth group where we're all in agreement with one another, and he hated the fact that I had answers to give to things.
He rejects
And
the
he was going,
council.
kick this iron horse off. He's just a what is he, flabbergasting, whatever. He's
Filibuster?
Nathan was
I don't know.
owned the limelight the whole time.
He always
And so
goes
we
on
had
about how fair he is. There's no profanity. There's no this. And we don't kick Globies out.
He's
It's
the
the
biggest
opposite.
hypocrite.
It's the opposite.
Yeah. He's not a nice person.
And then you speak to people like Ross here, and you do have an amicable conversation. Is so relaxed. And
Yeah, dude, because of how chill you are, it was very hard to read that comment, that negative comment, even though it's like, I can't skip a $10 super chat if it's like not wildly inappropriate. But also, I never know how someone's gonna react.
Ross has got thick skin. Don't worry about it.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to assume that because the debate 2 nights ago with Jim Bob and an atheist, the super chats, like sometimes even the chill ones were enough to kind of make the guy turn, beet red, and then the other guy like really pile on because he was more, skilled debater, just very chill, not in his emotions, and the other guy.
So experienced in human psychology when it comes to the way people react on the internet is that I find that most of the time they're expressing something very negative. They're really revealing themselves. They're like projecting something about their own subconscious that they're deeply afraid of. And so what they're doing is they're projecting it onto somebody else, usually the person they disagree with most, seeing something that they really don't like about themselves. So the more negativity I get, the more I can throw it back at them. It's great.
This guy I was arguing with in the comments periodically, because you guys were making my job pretty easy there in the hour. He said water is transgender.
Oh, fuck's sake. All right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Hey,
No,
Ross,
it is H2O.
Big brain chat right there.
Ross, am I okay to, with your permission, do you mind if I can email you from the chat with James?
Yeah, no, go for it, please.
I would.
No,
all jokes aside, if you look at my channel, I want to start doing interviews as well, and I would love to interview you. I really would.
Yeah, I'm just settling into this new house here. I'm still not fully moved in. I've got
whenever you're ready, mate. Whenever you're
still trying to get internet connected, but any time I'm available on weekends.
You give me the date. You give me the date. All right.
No worries.
I would love to. I really would. I'd really love to.
Awesome.
No, I appreciate that.
Glad you guys could set that up. If you need anything from me, let me know. I'll try to make an edit to put y'all's links in the
that'd be great.
description. I didn't see them in there, or some commenters were saying they weren't in there.
I think I emailed.
I always ask James if he can send me the MP4. I think it's called, or he sends me a link to the.
I don't know that there will be one, since I just plug straight into OBS and live stream it. What I think you could probably do is download it straight off of YouTube. I don't know that it gives me the ability to get a separate file and something like that. I can look into it though.
Oh, Ross, by the
way, all good. I usually only do it back when I've got internet and have time to sit down and fully analyze it and do a live stream going through that. But I think we had a very good debate. and there's nothing I would actually want to try and embarrass you with, like I do with most of my antagonists. All good.
By the way, I just want to say, at the start, before we started the debate, you asked me where I was from. You might have seen me talking because I was actually doing my intro for my channel, so I wasn't being rude.
I floated that to him.
you
I was
just
like, you
caught
know
me at
what?
a
He's
bad time.
probably talking to his chat.
Yeah, I do apologize. Yeah,
No dramas.
I do apologize.
No dramas at all. No, we sorted that out.
I'm gonna go because I'm gonna go. It's four.
Yeah,
4 past 4
yeah,
in the
dude.
morning. But I'm gonna go.
Did you wake up early, or have you just not gone to sleep? Sorry if you're about to say you're going to bed.
Oh, I had a few hours before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on, man.
I'm actually gonna go over to Max's channel. I'm gonna chill out with him for about half an hour and
have fun, man.
But
Tell him I said what's up.
I'm gonna email you, and let's keep in touch. And whenever you are ready, I'm down for doing this interview. I would love to interview you.
No worries. Yeah, that's
perfect. You are amazing.
Oh,
you're amazing.
Real quick, maybe this would be an interesting idea. When I first started moderating on the channel, we were doing some periodic 2v2s. If you guys would be interested in that, maybe like Danny and Craig, and then Iron Horse. If you want to find someone you agree with the most, then you guys can do a 2v2 and kind of mix it up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to.
It's just throwing it out there. We were doing it a lot when I first started, and then we kind of like haven't done one since. We probably did like 3 or 4 or something like that.
Or you could ask Craig, and me and Craig will go up against 2 other opponents.
Yeah, I find I'm more.
He's got a lot of history with Craig.
With my own side
he's got a lot of history with him.
I think that was the only reason I thought it might be a good idea, is just because like if there is 2 separate opinions, then it would give a good chance to find some sort of synchronicity between those 2 that could be either argued with or, you know, make your points even better. I don't know. Just thinking about it.
I did one with Witsit once, and that went okay because I agree with him a lot. But he's one of the ones in the final experiment, and even though he's still a flat earther, I think he signed a non-disclosure agreement, so he can't really debate in favor of what he believes in anymore.
With who? So, oh, that's some juicy tea right there.
Yeah, Witsit. Yeah, he was the one that tried to do an audit NASA thing. And when you try to audit NASA, you're an American citizen trying to audit a branch of your own government, military.
Basically.
It could be considered treason.
Yeah, I mean, and people go missing all the time unexplained. Like, it's kind of ballsy.
Not a good idea to audit
kind of stupid.
Right, I'm gonna take off.
Hey man, you have a great morning.
Yes, I will. I'm gonna go join Max for a bit, and but like I said, Ross, it's been amazing, and we'll keep in touch on the emails, and whenever you are ready, honestly, it's no rush. Whenever you are ready, it'll be that would be amazing.
Take it easy, man. I might even try and find Max's channel real quick if the link's still up.
Yerba Mate Talks. That's the YouTube search you want to do.
What's it called?
Yerba Mate, like the tea.
What I could do is, I think, what I'll do is I'll send.
Oh yeah, I got it.
Oh, you got it. Do you want to send it in emails?
There's a chat function right here, and I'm gonna paste it, and you can click it. Did you see that pop up on your screen?
I did.
Yeah, I see that.
There you go, bud. I don't know what he might use StreamYard or something, so I think I'm not sure how to get, you know, if you're trying to get involved, how that works, but at least I can point you there.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, you guys have a wonderful night.
Yeah. We'll see you later. We'll keep in touch. I like him. I like Iron Horse. That was a good chat. That was a good chat. What's going on with my thing? Hold on. Let me sort it out. My OCD kicks in, man. Right. That was a good chat. And sometimes Iron Horse, he likes to get a bit heated. It all depends who he debates though, I guess. I mean, it was really chilled. It was really chilled. And I think about me, I just wanted answers. And like any other flat earther, he answered. Like there wasn't a question he didn't answer to. And And even if he didn't have the answer, he probably would have just said to me, "I don't know the answer." I think he might have said that once in the debate. But look, it's 4:20 in the morning, so I've stayed up nice and long for this. So what I'm going to do is, I want to thank everyone for being out. Let me just shout out a few names. Nemo was in the chat, and Sustaining Nimbus, Ludwig Stratus course, whatever. Sorry, mate, I can't pronounce your name. So, what else is there? It's a Rubik's. It's a Rubik's was here. How you doing? I want to thank everyone for being here. It's amazing, and it was a good debate. I think if Nemo, if you're still here, if you still want to book our debate, and maybe we can make it as chilled and amicable as me and Ross. But I still think we need a moderator. So it's a Rubik's who's in the chat has it offered to moderate. I think it would just make things fair and it will make the debate flow a bit better. So on that note, I'm going to love you and leave you. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed yourself and like the stream because there's not much likes on there for some reason. And drop me a sub if you're new to the chat. So yeah. Anyways, I'm going to go. It's 4:20. Hey, and I'm gone. All right. Good night, everyone. Thanks for joining me. Cheerio.